All right, can I get everyone over to the, whatever the line this is? What line is it? Centre line? Is that the halfway?
That's 40.
Perfect.
That's 40.
Sure. Is that not halfway? No, that's halfway. Okay, this is the 10. Gotcha. All right, we're here on the 10. All right, we've just been talking about line out with the referee ready people in terms of, what were we talking about? Can you guys remember? What did we talk about? No, line outs. Having a gap, yes, that was one thing we talked about. We talked about the requirements for a quick throw. Talked about what straight is. What else? Setup. What was the most important part of getting the line out right? Getting the setup right. Excellent. Anything else?
Positioning.
And line out positioning. Yes, excellent. So these guys were paying attention. Now we've got the other group that's joined us, so I'm not sure what we're talking about. Let's take it up to some more thinking about the tactics of the line out. And are there any other issues that you guys want to touch on? Safety?
When they're up in the air.
Yeah, bring them down safely. Yep, too easy.
Don't go to sleep when you get there, because some blokes...
So, looking at the tactics of the line out, what is the team that's throwing the ball in trying to achieve?
Regain possession.
Regain possession, which means they need a good throw and they need a good catch. What else might they be trying to do? Apart from regain possession?
Tactical plays.
Yeah, tactical plays. So what attacking moves do you have off the line out?
Driving line out.
What's that, John? So a backline move?
A driving line out.
Keep it in the forwards and drive it down the field. Is there more? What else? Front back pod. What's that?
Line out move.
So what do you? Can you describe it for us? What are they doing?
Like a pod getting lifted at the 5 and a pod getting lifted at the back.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about having some variation in the line out setup to confuse the opposition as to where you're going to throw it. Yeah. Yep. I'm talking about
Real cool hooker.
having won the ball. How can we use it?
Real cool hooker moves.
Really cool hooker move. So we put it back into the tram tracks and run it down the tram tracks. Anything else? A long throw. Why would we do a long throw? It's probably going to be a backline move. Yeah, probably. Anything else?
Quick off the top.
Quick off the top to try and break the gain line. Crash ball, set up a ruck and then do it again. There's something else that no one's mentioned because we in Australia hate doing it, but what else might you do off the line out? No, we have mentioned mauls. Kick, a kick. So we pass the ball back to someone behind the line out and then do a kick. I don't know why, because you've just done a line out. Like, oh, jeez. All right. A sweeper, yeah. So again, someone in behind the line out. So those are all the things that you can do after you've won the ball. In order to win the ball, Miles was talking about creating some variation. What are your basic options in terms of where you're going to win the ball in the line out?
Front middle back.
Front, middle, back, yeah, 2, 4 or 6. How many jumpers might you have in your team? Somewhere between 0 and 3. So the less people you have that are able to catch the ball, the less options you have. It's pretty obvious. If you've only got one jumper in your team, where's the ball going? It's going to the jumper. Unless you do something sneaky with the hooker. No, you do something sneaky and just do a short ball to the prop at the front of the line out. Was that what you were going to say, Harry? You look like you had an option for us if we only got one jumper. No? All right, it's pretty obvious that we're going to the one jumper if that's all we've got. Some other things we can do though if we've only got one jumper. Tactics? Short line out, so reduce the number of opponents we have to worry about and then we can move our pod of 3 players pretty quickly and try and catch them off guard. Anything else? Going back to your option, Mark, if we've only got one jumper, maybe the long throw is our safest option. take the line out of the equation. Or the short throw. So we're going to throw it as close to the 5 metre mark as possible so that the opposition can't get their hands on it. From a referee perspective, thinking about what the team is trying to achieve, how does that change what we do? What should we do as we're coming into this line out? Okay, so what would we think about?
Where you're going to stand. So you stand at an angle to the front so you can see the offsides, both sides, and give or take a decent contest for the ball. You're not going to stand down the zipper at most games.
When are the offside lines going to be particularly important for you at a line out?
Close to the top red zone.
If they're getting the ball out quickly off the top to the back line. If they're keeping the ball in the forwards, are the offside lines going to be important to you? No, so have a think about that. What is my priority at this line out? If they're going to keep it in the forwards, what is my priority?
And if you notice that they're setting a pod,
Yes.
or that they've been struggling, you may want to reassess where you're going to stand as to whether or not you think they're going to be moving back, so maybe you want to start acting early on those sorts of things.
Yes.
Or if you're down near the on the 5 metre line, you go in goal. If you think they're going to go for a driving maul, so you can be there waiting for the ball.
Exactly. So if we're out in the middle of the field as we are at the moment, you as the referee have more time to react. You had a qualified, competent AR at the front. It would make sense for you to stand at the back. Yep. Because if they do that quick ball to the backs, you're already there. If they go into the 5 metre line, who's there? The assistant referee. If both of you are at the front of the line out and they throw to the back of the line out and then go over and score, well, you're in a terrible position. So why didn't you stand at the back of the line out to start with? If, on the other hand, you're doing a game where you've got an incompetent assistant referee who you cannot trust, would you still stand at the back of the line out? Or no assistant referee? What was that, John? That's what I'm asking. So what are you going to do?
Depends on what the competence of the teams are. Depends on the situation.
Give me a decision-making framework. Why would I stand where at this line out where I don't trust my assistant referee to help me out at the front?
They were going to drive the front forward. Don't just stand in front so you can control line and hand up front.
Yep. When would you stand at the back, or would you? Yeah, huh? Yeah, it's a lot harder. So what's more risky for you? Like standing at the back and they score in the corner, or standing at the front and they send it wide and potentially score 20 metres in? What's more risky? Yeah, standing at the back and they score in the corner I think is more risky. So you would in that generally be at the front if you don't trust your assistant referee. 5 metres out. Make sense? Middle of the field, it's not so important, is it? Because you've got plenty of time to respond. All right, can we think of, what about another scenario, 5 metres out and it's the defending team's throw? What would we be thinking they're going to do? Are they going to kick? They're going to do a clearing kick? It'd be silly to do anything else, wouldn't they?
Well, they might throw it long because then they only have to run 5 meters to catch, so the defending team are back 10. So
Yes. So they could try to do a hit up and recycle. Yeah. They could also try to secure the ball through a maul. They could. Does that impact on where you're going to stand? How? Yep. And if they're going to do a clearing kick, would we prefer to be standing in the middle of the field directly in front of the kicker, potentially, or on the sideline? What do you reckon? Might be safer not to be in the firing line. There's some good videos, I think, on YouTube of referees being falconed. Anthony Moyes, I seem to recall, got falconed down at Manly a few years ago, standing directly in front of the kicker, off the line out. So potentially you're safer standing at the front of the line out if we think there's going to be a clearing kick. Gives you better vision for what's going to happen after that. Any downsides of standing at the front of the line out in this scenario? You've got a long way. You've got a long way to run. If they shift it wide. Yep.
Nice guy fumble it over there and quick turnover. You're not real close for potentially try.
Yeah. Again, that centre field try is potentially a risk for you. So I guess if you're worried about the centre field try, what running line are you going to take to try and get in there quickly? And giving yourself the best chance of seeing it, even though you're 15 metres laterally from it. Straight in the in-goal area. Just get straight in there and try and get a view on the grounding. Then you go to the TMO. Oh damn, we didn't have a TMO. Who forgot to organise the TMO? Doesn't Clutch do that? No. Yeah, nothing happened. Awesome. Have the Brains Trust got anything you want to add about Lineout before we talk about the maul transition?
Probably just add one thing there which encompasses it just around that decision-making process and positioning in general for that and everything else. So the first thing would be is picking a position where you're going to stand. The first thing is because you want to be where the play is. See things unfold. So where's the best place to be? See that unfold. So Alex has talked about you don't have another AR, well they're going to throw in. If it goes 5 metres, well I want to be in that 5 metre channel because something could happen there and I'm best to be there. If it goes long I can then shoot off and follow that. But if I'm not in that 5 metre channel first, then I've got myself in a bad position. I can't adjudicate on the play. So it's about finding that position where the most risk is and be there firstly for that risk. So that 5 metre channel there is that risk. And then the next part about that positioning is to be there to adjudicate on that play that's happening. Then where's it going to next that I can shorten up the amount of time that I've got to travel. So there's just your two things around that. So being in the best position to see that of where it is now and then where it's possibly going to be next. So from that one there you got your 5 metre, then if it goes long then you can hightail it and moving early. So not standing and watching, then going early as quickly as you can so you've seen the play happen.
I'll just add one more thing. When you first referee, you're going to come to the front of your line out and there'll probably be someone with a flag and maybe a tinny. And you're going to come to the 5 metres and you're going to put your head on the ground and you're going to dig this dirty big hole. And meanwhile, everyone that you need to be watching is behind you, here. So don't put your head down. This is a really good opportunity to see who's doing what, who's moving where, and you can actually make that decision about where you want to go.
And don't destroy the grass, because the groundsman will not appreciate it.
But in line with what was just said then about watching, you'll see your lower grade games, the players will make their call and suddenly two blokes get set up ready to lift. If you're watching them, you'll see often where the ball's going to go, not knowing their calls, but you'll see by players set up. They'll just, so you watch them and then you'll know, oh, it's going long or it's going short, so you can yourself prepare for where it's going. You'll often see them do that.
And just one final thing in setting up for the game beforehand to take pressure off yourself. You're going to go and talk to the teams before the games, yeah? And the front rowers, if they haven't got to that yet, yeah, you will because you want to do safety and everything else. When you're with the front rowers, you might just say, who's the one that's going to be at the front of the line out? Oh, that'll be me. Say, great, well when we get to the line out, so I'm going to give you a mark on the first one, and that's, I want you to hold that space, and I want you to work with the rest of your blokes to make sure they're straight and they've got a gap. Can you do that for me? Say, oh yeah, of course I can. And then say that to the other bloke. So when you turn up to the line out next time, and you just go, instead of you going, hey, move, just fix that gap for me. They're doing it for you. Saves you a whole lot of time.
Absolutely, and less talking.
Correct.
Who's the second rower? Jump out, Jordan. You're a bit slow over there. And front row, I know Harry, you're one. Who else? Who else is the front row? Yep, out you come. This is our pod. It's a fine looking pod. What was your name again? Nick. Excellent. So Harry, Nick and Jordan. Awesome. So obviously Jordan is our jumper. These guys are our two lifters. Are you guys comfortable with jumping and lifting? That's all right, because we're not actually doing that. What we're looking at is the transition from line out to maul. So if I can get you guys over here, let's say this is the centre line of the line out. So you're running that way, attacking team. Who's a hooker? Anyone? We've probably used up all the front rowers. Now you can be the hooker. Yeah, good work, Angus. So in terms of transitioning, you're going to catch the ball and then we're going to form a maul. Would you do that at the front pod?
It depends on where they are and where we're going, like whether we want to target post or pole. Yeah.
Yep, so this is a legitimate option for you to throw to the front pod and form a maul. Just need to be careful about being bundled into touch because you are close-ish to the touch line. So you want to make sure you've got enough supporters. That's your job, to push them in field. What else do we need to think about in terms of setting up this pod to protect the ball? Get an early bind.
Once we bring the ball down,
Yep.
because I've got to be able to get low enough that these guys can get around me tight so that they can't pop through the middle.
Yeah.
And then once I've had my ripper come through, that's when I can stand up and start being a pest.
Binds because you don't want the opposition to get in there and break through and break up your formation and be able to get onto the ball and screw it up. All right, so Bill, you're defending, Brett, you're defending, Matt, you're defending. What are you guys going to do to disrupt this maul before it gets a bit of steam on?
Legally.
Well, we're going to go for the ball first. We're going to get in the air and try and get...
Oh, so you're going to try and contest the ball in the air?
From this field positioning, yeah. I'm going to whack him as soon as it's ground. Yeah, pretty much.
So you've got to make a decision though, because if you try to contest in the air, can you also sack him? It's sort of one or the other. It's very hard to do both. Yep, so you've committed yourself to sacking him. How are you going to do that legally?
We'll try and get a bind on him because as soon as he hits the ground, try
Yeah.
and wrap him up.
He can pull me back straight away.
Yeah.
Or he can come through and take me past these guys so they're out of the play.
Yep, so probably as soon as you hit the ground, he's going to be grabbing your upper body and pulling you down.
And that's why I'm bending down so he can't use my height as a
You're trying to
to
brace
get
yourself for contact. Yep, and then get these two guys to get those strong binds to help keep you up as well. What happens if you can't get him to ground? Is that it? Contest over? What do we think? If they go for the sack and they fail, what's their next option in terms of defending this maul?
Try and split up.
So now they're going to try and split. Stop them from gaining meters.
Stop that, man. Stop that. So use the ball at the back. Move to the sideline.
Yes, so we're still 5 metres from the sideline. If we can get lots of people on this side of the maul, push you guys into the sideline, potentially A, cramping your options, and B, getting a line out, best scenario. So that could be something that we do. And we're actually set up all right for that, aren't we? Because all our other players are over here. So they can just pile on and push that way, can't they? Whereas you guys would have to move players around to that side of the maul in order to push back this way. Could be problematic. Could be an option. There we go, we've got options. From a referee's point of view, look to the audience, for a referee's point of view, what are we thinking as we're trying to referee this contest? What are our priorities? Is it safe? All right, so talk to me about safety. What might be dangerous?
Anyone being taken out from the air, taking the lifters out while he's still in the air.
Yeah, so they need to get the timing of their sack right. They can't be doing it while he's still in the air. He needs to be on the ground. And if they did contest in the air, then obviously we want to see them going for the ball and not going for Jordan. Anything else safety-wise? All right, so if the maul forms because you didn't just form up as your maul. All right, let's do the ball in. The sacking, remember? Oh, that was an awesome throw. Yep, forming up the maul. You failed the sack, but you try to collapse it anyway. You guys aren't collapsing it, but that's all right. You try to collapse it anyway. Do we? If they all fell over in a heap?
Not if it's deliberate.
Talk to me. What does that mean?
Well, if you can tell that the player has deliberately taken the legs out from underneath or has pulled it down.
Yeah, he didn't take the legs out, he did the old.
He pulled it out
pulled it that way.
That's then a penalty for collapsing the ball. That's not a collapsed ball.
Yep, because they didn't do it immediately. If the sack happens immediately, it's a what? What do we?
Tackle.
It's a tackle. Law 13. If it doesn't happen immediately and this maul forms, Law 15, can you collapse it? No. All right, so that's a safety issue potentially. Any other safety issues?
My feet have
What's that?
Round the head, trying to sack it that way.
Yeah, grabbing him around the neck and pulling him to ground. Yep, that would be dangerous.
my feet have to stay on the ground. They can't come through and lift me or one of these guys up.
Lifting off the ground. Yeah, you can't, because that can lead to collapsing. All right, moving on from safety issues. Anything else we need to think about in terms of the fairness of this contest as a referee? Straight throw. We did have some doubts and he threw it underarm, so clearly he had some doubts too. What else from a fairness perspective?
Whether the rip has actually made contact before taking the ball or whether it's been a carriage.
Yeah, so there's some real technical stuff that has come into the law here around rippers and the transfer of the ball. So can you just give him back the ball, and then Miles, you're coming in to rip the ball. How do you bind on or make this a legal transfer of the ball? Yeah, perfect. If Sean was bound on behind you, Miles, and the ball's still with Jordan, yeah, bind on, let's make a long maul, perfect. And the ball went straight to Sean. Do we have a problem? Yes. This is what we call a long transfer. Not okay. Used to be okay. It's a bit hard to see though. The more players you put in here, it gets a bit hard to see. So, as a referee, are we going to guess that there's been a long transfer? If you didn't see it, it didn't happen. You need to see that there's been a long transfer and then you can rule on it. Ball back to Jordan. What else do we need to worry about from a fairness perspective? Looking at the attacking team here.
It's got to be bound.
Defenders are bound on. No, just looking at the attacking team forming up the maul.
Are they blocking?
Blocking. So if these two guys brought him down and obstructed, can you show me what that would look like? So you two guys are in front of him when you're, yeah, perfect. You would actually have a bind though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, bound up.
No, you bind up.
You'd probably bind on the front of him.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you bind on the front? Yeah, I think that's going to be more comfortable than trying to bind around there.
No, I was bound.
Yeah, no, I was talking about this bind here. All right, so have we got a problem if these two guys are bound up in front of the ball carrier? Obstruction, yeah. So that one should be easier to see because there's no maul formed yet. It's pretty obvious. Anything else from a fitness perspective with the attacking team?
I don't pop it and then they come in.
So pop it and then make contact. And then rejoins.
Yeah.
Does that happen?
Every now and again.
That's probably a screw up though. That's not deliberate.
On it last year.
I don't think that.
You mentioned about when Pocock used to just, he'd come in, he'd be the ripper.
Yes.
And he'd slide back through the ruck.
So Miles, you've come in and ripped the ball. Sean, you're bound on behind him. And then Miles does a pocock and slips back behind Sean. How did that happen? Magic. Magic. Is that allowed? No, that's not allowed anymore either. So we got to see the ball transferred hand over hand through the maul. Looking at the contest, these guys are really tricky. And they're like, we don't like mauling. We know these guys have got a fantastic maul. What can we do to avoid a maul? There's no maul here today. We're not going to engage. How can they do that legally? Yeah. So you can't step away from the maul. So show us what that would look like if you were to step away. Yep. Because by doing that, what have you just done? You've left the line out. The line out isn't finished, but you've left, so you're offside. Bad luck. Get back to where you started. What can you do to avoid contact that is legal? You can stand there. The issue with standing there is these guys might move forward and make contact and we've got a maul. You can come sideways along the line of, you can't go inside the 5 metres though, don't do that. You can come sideways along the line out. Yep, and you haven't left the line out, you're still in the line out. Only problem is, what have you just created here?
A big hole for him to
Big hole. So these guys are clever, and Jordan should stay off the ball because no maul's formed yet. If he was clever, he would then just go straight, wouldn't he?
Yes.
All right, anything else that these guys need to do in order to keep it legal? The not forming a maul scenario? No, we're all happy. So let's go back to these guys. They've chosen not to form a maul. Jordan hasn't run forward with the ball. What can Jordan do with the ball at this point?
Get rid of it.
Get rid of it. What happens if Miles binds onto him and he transfers the ball to Miles? Miles, bind on. And Jordan transfers the ball. What's our issue?
I've got to stay here.
Go sideways.
We've got an obstruction, haven't we?
Yeah.
Because Jordan's now blocking. So how do we manage this?
You don't.
Sorry, referee, how do we manage this as the referee? They've screwed up and they've transferred it. They shouldn't have, but they did. How's the referee manage it? Play on.
Use it.
Sorry, Vit.
It's like use it immediately.
Use it. So our comm should be use it. And if they do, so you've passed the ball to Miles, but he's bound onto you. And the referee says use it. What's Miles going to do? Yep, that's fine. Are we happy now? Because they've used it. They've got to get it out of this pod of players. And that removes the obstruction. We're all happy. If they don't use it, it's back with Miles. And he's bound on. And instead they drive forward. Instead they drive forward. Have we got a problem?
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
Penalty.
Penalty?
Free kick or scrum.
Why is it just a scrum? Yeah, so this is because we've got two infringements, if you like, or two infringements against the spirit of rugby. A, these guys aren't contesting, and we don't like that. And B, these guys are obstructing. So we don't reward this team for negative play with a penalty. What we give them is a scrum for accidental offside. This was World Rugby's ruling on how to deal with this scenario. Yep, so we say use it. These guys were stupid or deaf. They didn't use it. They rumbled forward. Scrum, accidental offside. Not a penalty. Everyone happy? Hopefully these guys have told you before the game that they do this, because then you're switched on to the fact that this is going to happen. If they don't tell you and they just pull it out of their butt partway through the game and you make the wrong call, well, whose fault's that? It's theirs for not briefing you. No, of course it's yours for not doing your homework. All right, any questions on that line out to maul transition? Have we forgotten anything? Brains Trust, anything around line out to maul?
Just joining what you got it for, the ball formed, offside lines.
Yeah, and that was another thing that the Brumbies used to do.
10. When can the backs come up?
Yes, so thinking about 5 metre line outs that the Brumbies used to do until it was outlawed, how many players did they commit to this maul?
8.
At least 8. And where did those players come from? The back line. And when did they come up? Oh, before the line out was over. Oh, so is that a problem? Yes. So we should be watching, while this maul's formed, we should be still watching the back lines to make sure that they're staying 10 metres, including the attacking back line. And the other thing that the Brumbies were doing, can I get Miles and Sean, you're in there. Angus, you're going to, I don't know if you know what the Brumbies used to do, but you're just going to come in, pretend to touch Sean and then slide up onto the front of the maul. Just show us what that looks like. Yeah, and then slide up, perfect. That's what they would do. They would just pile all these backs in who would make momentary contact at the back of the maul and then magically end up here to provide additional protection for the ball carrier. Is that okay? Is that a legal join for the maul? No. Yeah, they've got to take a full arm bind. Yeah, which means they can't magically end up on the front row of this maul. It's not possible. Unless you're magic. So, have we covered that one?
There's one other that you see quite often with our rugby, 4 or 5 players line out, so all the forwards aren't there.
Yeah.
And they'll take it down and form the ball, and they starting to get, the forwards rush forward because they want to get up there and support their
Yeah, so they started 10 metres back, but they've decided to join now.
That's a common one.
Even though the line out isn't over. Yeah, bad luck. Yes.
They need to be that far back to get ahead of steam on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, any other questions on Line Out to Maul? Our time has expired. Where is Jared Simpson? Because we're supposed to be all getting back together now, I think, as one group for him to do a wrap up. Is that your understanding?
He's in our room.
Everyone head back to the referee ready room and Jared will do a closing address. Yeah, yeah. It's your closing address time, Jared.